She was a small girl with big dreams. While other girls played with dolls, she played with swords. People laughed, but she smiled and said, "One day, I will protect my people." Years later, when the British tried to take her land, she stood alone and said, "I will not give up my Jhansi." She was a queen, a mother, and a warrior. This is the true story of Rani Lakshmibai, the brave queen who never gave up, even when the whole world stood against her. Chapter 1: The Girl with Fire in Her Eyes. Long ago, in 1828, in the holy city of Varanasi, a little girl opened her eyes to the world. Her name was Manikarnika, but everyone lovingly called her Manu. She was small, curious, and full of energy. While other girls played with dolls made of clay, Manu ran after horses and tried to hold wooden swords. Her laughter echoed through the narrow lanes of her neighborhood. Her father, Morapantam, worked in the court of the Peshwa of Bithur, and he treated her like his little warrior. Her mother died when she was still young, so her father became her world. The Peshwa loved Manu as his own child and gave her a sweet nickname, Chibili, which meant playful and brave. Every morning, she watched soldiers practice in the yard. The sound of swords clashing filled her heart with excitement. She begged the trainer to teach her, and though people laughed, she didn't stop asking. Soon, the soldiers began to teach her secretly. She learned to hold a sword, to ride a horse, to shoot arrows. When she fell, she stood again, wiping the dust off her knees. Manu's best friends were not girls with fancy dresses, but strong horses. She named one Sarang, a brown horse that ran like the wind. She often raced through the open fields of Bithur, her hair flying behind her. Villagers used to stop and watch, whispering, "This girl is born for something great." When someone teased her for acting like a boy, she smiled and said, "Bravery is not only for men." Her father often told her stories of great heroes, Shivaji, Rani Durgavati, and other warriors, who fought for their land. Manu listened with shining eyes and whispered, "One day, I will protect my people like them." Even as a child, she helped anyone in need. Once, when she saw a wounded calf crying on the street, she tore her cloth and tied it around its leg. Her kindness matched her courage. She didn't know that destiny was quietly watching her grow. One day, this playful girl with a sword would become a queen, and the name Manu would be remembered as Rani Lakshmibai, the warrior queen who never surrendered. Chapter 2: The Queen of Jhansi. When Manu turned 14, her life changed forever. She was married to the ruler of Jhansi, Raja Gangadhar Rao, a kind and educated king. After marriage, she received a new name, Rani Lakshmibai, the Queen of Jhansi. The palace became her new home, but her fearless heart remained the same. She still loved to ride horses, practice sword fighting, and learn new things. Even the royal guards were amazed to see their queen gallop across the palace grounds with confidence and grace. The king treated her with love and respect. He often said, "My queen is not just beautiful, she is brave and wise." Together, they dreamed of making Jhansi a happy and strong kingdom. The Rani worked closely with her husband to understand how the kingdom was run. She met farmers, soldiers, teachers, and women, asking about their lives and needs. She helped build schools for girls and supported farmers during hard seasons. Soon, everyone in Jhansi began to call her Ma Sahib, the mother of Jhansi. The palace was filled with laughter when their baby boy was born. The king and queen were overjoyed. They named him Damodar Rao, but fate had another test waiting. The baby fell sick and passed away after only a few months. The queen was heartbroken. She sat in silence for days, her eyes filled with tears. Yet she did not lose her spirit. She told her husband, "If our son is gone, we will still raise one in his name." Together, they adopted a little boy and named him Damodar Rao, the same as their lost child. Not long after, tragedy struck again. The king fell ill. Every day, the queen sat beside him, reading prayers and stories to comfort him. Before his last breath, he told her, "Promise me, you will protect Jhansi." She nodded with tears in her eyes. After his death, the British East India Company sent a notice. They refused to accept her adopted son as heir. They wanted to take her kingdom. But Rani Lakshmibai stood before them and said the words that echoed through time. "I will not give up my Jhansi." That single line turned a young widow into a living legend. Chapter 3: The Storm Begins. After her husband's death, Rani Lakshmibai's palace grew quiet, but her heart burned with fire. She wore white clothes of a widow, yet her spirit shone brighter than any crown. When the British officer came to claim Jhansi, she met him face to face in the royal court. Her eyes were calm, her voice steady, but every word she spoke carried thunder. "Jhansi belongs to its people," she said firmly. "And as long as I live, no one shall take it away." The officer left with anger, but deep inside, he knew this woman would not bend. Months passed, and the British surrounded Jhansi. They sent letters demanding her surrender, but the queen never replied. Instead, she began to prepare. The sound of swords and drums echoed across the fort. Day and night, she trained her soldiers. Women to join her army, inspired by her courage. She rode her horse through the courtyard shouting, "We will protect Jhansi with our lives." Her strength gave hope to everyone. Old men sharpened weapons, children carried water for the fighters, and women sewed flags for the soldiers. But the queen knew the enemy was powerful. She prayed each morning before sunrise, looking at the temple bells ringing in the wind. "God," she whispered, "give me the courage to fight for truth." She trained harder than anyone, riding at full speed, her sword flashing in the sun. The people began to call her Jhansi Ki Rani, the Queen of Jhansi, whose courage made even men bow their heads in respect. When the British army finally attacked, cannons roared, and the sky filled with smoke. Yet, standing tall on the fort's wall, the queen shouted, "Do not fear. Jhansi will never fall while I live." Her words filled her people with fire. They fought with all their strength, believing their queen was blessed by the gods. The battle had begun, and the world was about to witness the rise of a warrior. Chapter 4: The Battle for Jhansi. The morning of battle arrived with dark clouds hanging over the sky. The sound of British cannons thundered across Jhansi's walls. Smoke rose like angry shadows, but inside the fort, Rani Lakshmibai stood calm and fearless. Dressed in red armor, with her baby tied to her back, she mounted her horse, Badal. Her sword glittered like lightning as she raised it high and shouted, "Har Har Mahadev." The soldiers echoed her cry, and the fort came alive with courage. The queen's voice was steady, but her heart carried the weight of her people's hope. The British army came in waves, thousands of men with rifles and cannons. The air smelled of fire and gunpowder. Yet, the queen fought like a lioness. She rode across the battlefield, her sword flashing faster than the eye could follow. The enemy tried to surround her, but she cut through them with fire in her eyes. Her soldiers cheered, "Long live our queen." She fought not for power or revenge, but for honor, for her land, her people, and her promise. But the fight grew harder with each passing hour. The walls of Jhansi began to break, and flames swallowed the city. Her soldiers fell one by one, their cries mixing with the roar of cannons. Still, Rani Lakshmibai did not give up. She carried the wounded, comforted the dying, and returned to the battle again and again. Even when the British flag rose over part of the fort, she shouted, "Jhansi is not lost yet." Her courage made even her enemies whisper, "This woman fights like 10,000 men." At last, the British broke through the gates. The queen knew the city was falling, but her spirit did not. She took her child in her arms, climbed on her horse, and escaped through a secret path under the burning sky. Behind her, Jhansi was in ruins, but her legend had just begun. The world had seen her bravery, and now every heart in India whispered her name with pride. Chapter 5: The Queen Who Rode into History. After escaping from Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai rode for many miles without stopping. The roads were rough, forests dark, and rivers deep, yet she didn't rest. She carried her child Damodar close to her chest and her sword by her side. Nights were cold, but she slept under trees, dreaming only of freedom. Wherever she went, people came out of their homes to bow before her. They offered food, water, and shelter. To them, she was not just a queen, she was a living symbol of courage and hope. In the days that followed, she joined other freedom fighters. One of them was Taja Tope, a brave leader of the 1857 rebellion. Together, they made plans to take back India from the British. The queen led her army through small towns and villages, gathering soldiers, men and women alike. She taught them how to fight and how to stay fearless. Every morning, she rode her horse and trained beside them. Even though she had lost her palace, she had found something greater, the love of her people. Finally, she reached Gwalior, a strong city with powerful forts. The people there welcomed her with open hearts. Under her command, the rebels captured the fort of Gwalior from the British. For a brief moment, the Indian flag rose high again. Rani Lakshmibai dressed as a soldier in armor, her face shining with determination. She knew the British would soon come to take it back, but she said, "I will fight till my last breath." Her words filled everyone with strength. When the British army attacked Gwalior, the queen rode into battle once again. The air shook with cannon fire. She fought bravely in the middle of the battlefield, her sword flashing in the sunlight. Even when bullets tore through the air around her, she didn't stop. Her horse galloped like the wind, her eyes fierce and focused. She was wounded, but she kept fighting. Surrounded by enemies, she raised her sword one last time and fell like a true warrior, with her honor unbroken and her spirit unchained. Chapter 6: The Legend That Never Died. When the guns fell silent at Gwalior, smoke covered the sky, and the sound of battle slowly faded away. The British searched for the queen's body, but they couldn't find her easily. Some say loyal villagers carried her away and performed her last rites secretly under a tree, with tears in their eyes. They didn't want her enemies to touch her. For them, she was not dead, she had become a spirit, a flame that could never be put out. The people whispered, "Our queen lives in every heart that dares to be brave." News of her death spread like fire across India. Men and women wept openly, yet they also felt a deep pride. Songs were written about her, and poets sang her name in villages and markets. Little girls played with wooden swords and said, "I am Lakshmibai of Jhansi." Even the British officers who fought her could not hide their respect. One of them wrote, "She was the bravest and best of all the rebel leaders." That line became a mark of honor, remembered for generations. As years passed, her story did not fade, it grew stronger. When India finally became free in 1947, people remembered her as one of the first flames of freedom. Today, her statues stand proudly in many cities, a queen on a horse, holding a sword, her child tied to her back. School children salute her every year, calling her Jhansi Ki Rani. She remains not just a hero of the past, but an inspiration for all time. Rani Lakshmibai's spirit still whispers through the winds of India, reminding every soul, courage never dies, and freedom is worth every fight. If you felt her courage in your heart, don't forget to like this video. Share it with your friends who love real stories and want to learn English easily. Subscribe to Glorious English for more emotional, true stories told in simple English. Every story here teaches English, but also touches your soul.